Hello world, I'm Nick. Welcome back to Nick Proud Programmer. We are back for some more .NET goodness. This time it's about Visual Studio and a new extension that you can use to make your entity framework queries much more efficient, or at least you can get an insight into what they're doing under the hood. Now, if you've watched my videos before, if you've taken my courses on Dome Train, you've probably seen that I'm a JetBrains rider guy pretty much through and through. It's actually quite rare that I dip into Visual Studio. I still think it's important to see what's going on with Visual Studio. It's still a pretty important piece of software. And this extension in particular, I think, is quite important because it gets developers to look at efficiency when it comes to SQL. Now, if we're using Entity Framework, we're in this higher level of abstraction above our database. And a lot of the time, we're just writing C#, so we can map data to objects, and we're not really necessarily thinking too much about the SQL under the hood. Now, there's a new extension that's come out, which is an Entity Framework Visualizer. So you can install this into Visual Studio, and then that will give you the ability to inspect any iQueryable variables. So if you're not familiar with an iQueryable, now iQueryable is basically a representation of a query you're going to do against the database. But the difference is it's in C#, so efficiency and optimization still apply. What will happen is that under the hood, the SQL will be executed, and depending on how you've built your query in C#, it will either be costly in terms of performance, or it will be relatively efficient. Now, this video is not going to teach you how to make your queries more efficient. What I'm trying to do in this video is showcase this extension and also to encourage people to look at what is happening under the hood. So even if you don't need to optimize too much, at the very least, you're still getting a bit of an education in terms of what's happening when you write link queries, when you're writing C# in Entity Framework and it's speaking to that database. Because that's one thing that I feel very strongly about, is that when you're using something like Entity Framework, it's very easy to become detached from the underlying technology. And I strongly feel that having a good understanding of SQL and what relational databases do, what SQL engines do, is extremely useful, and it does make you a better developer. So let's look at this extension then. So I'm in Visual Studio. I've got an application that I've been working on for a while. So this is, it's called ZenHook. It's the first time I've shown this publicly, but just as a sort of bit of context, it's essentially a kind of paste bin for REST APIs. So it's a tool that allows developers to spin up an endpoint and then just point any data at it. It's largely targeted at developers who are building new solutions and want a sort of temporary backend where they can put data while they're focusing on the client side. But it could also be used for things like tracking what people do on the website, for example. So you could put an endpoint into your JavaScript on a page, and when someone clicks a button, it could just ping a little event to say, this person clicked the subscribe button at this time. So there's lots of different things you could use it for. It's still in the very early stages, but it is using Entity Framework, and so I can use that as an example for this. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to install the extension. Now, actually, I do have it installed, but I'll show you how you can install it. So if you go over to Manage Extensions in Visual Studio, and you would search for EFCore.Visualizer. So I've got it here because it's already installed. But here you can see there is lots of info about the extension and what it does. So it currently supports SQL Server, PostgreSQL, SQLite, MySQL, and Oracle. So it's a really good cross-section of SQL platforms. It does require a certain version of Visual Studio, but you can see an example here of an iQueryable. So you've got this filter by name, and that is going into a DB context. So that's the context that Entity Framework is using to represent the database. And then it's saying .persons, .where, and then you've got this specific Lambda expression. So that's your query, basically. Now, what this extension does is it allows you to, at runtime, right-click an iQueryable variable and go into a query plan visualizer. So I'll stick with the SQL Server example for now because I think, I'd hazard a guess, it's what a lot of people are familiar with. But a query plan basically is a visualization of what is happening on the SQL side when you do this query. So here you can see that it's got a chain of events. You've got a select. At the top of that, there is a 0% cost. So it's not really costing you anything in terms of performance. But then when it gets into the query, you can see the query plan here is saying that you're doing a clustered index scan. What that means is it's gathering all of the items that have a particular index, so it's using the primary key index for persons, but it's having to scan, so it's having to look across all those results, all the result sets for that. And you can see there it says the cost is 100%, so it's a pretty expensive query. Now, whether you can or should optimize this query depends on a whole bunch of factors, and we're not going to get into them in this video. But what I want to demonstrate is how easy it is to see what is happening under the hood, and you can then make that decision. So if I scroll down further, you can also see that we've got the SQL that is generated. So we can actually see what Entity Framework is doing in terms of SQL. This is on a different iQueryable. You can see here there's different footprints on this query. So it does a select, it's got some nested loops. So it does this inner join and it costs 1%. So that's nice and that's pretty optimal, I would say. Got something here which is 0%, which is great. And then you've got these two index scans and index seek. So a scan is where SQL has to scan over the records, has to go over the records to find everything that satisfies the query conditions. And a seek is going to pinpoint those records specifically using the index. So they are two different methods of finding data in a relational database. Now, this is a massive generalization, but as a rule of thumb, in a very sort of simple, high-level way, a seek is generally better than a scan. Not always, but in most cases, you would rather have a seek than a scan. A scan is going to have to look over everything to find the data you're looking for, whereas a seek is going to pinpoint based on more of a forensic method. It's going to zero in on that data in a more logical way, rather than doing a sort of catch-all, check everything. I've reduced that down to a very general definition. This stuff can get really complicated, but just understanding the basics, like if you see a lot of scans, then maybe question whether that is necessary. It very well might be, but at least if you've got this query plan visualizer tool, you can see whether you're having a lot of scans, whether you're having a lot of seeks, or whether you're having a mix of the two. And obviously you can see the cost that is being calculated there. So let's have a little play around with this in my code. So I'm going to go to a place where we've got a queryable. I don't have a queryable to hand at the moment, but I can create one. So I have a DB context. So I'm just going to go to a place where I know I can hit the breakpoint. So this create URL for endpoint, I know that's going to run when I create a URL, when I create an endpoint in my app. So I'm just going to create a test variable, and it will be an iQueryable. So it will be a query against the context. So it will be context, that's my DB context, and I'll say dot endpoints dot where, and then I'll give it a condition. So I'll say where the user ID is equal to, and I'll just say Nick. I mean, that's obviously not going to be a thing, but what it does give me is an iQueryable, so I can actually demonstrate this. So I'll put a breakpoint here so that we run this code, and then I'm going to fire up my application, and I'm going to get this breakpoint to hit. Okay, so that started my app. I'm just going to log in. I know it's great that I've added two-factor authentication to this, but could have done with it being turned off for the video. Okay, so I'm in my application. I'm going to go to endpoint. This is where I can trigger that breakpoint. So I'm going to create a new endpoint, just give it some random value, and then click create, and that will hit that breakpoint because it's going to generate a URL. Now that means we should have a queryable here, which we do. And if I go to view, then I'll get an option to look at the query plan visualizer. So I've got this option because I've got that extension installed. If I click that, then we can see this information. I'll just maximize that. So you can see here, if I just zoom in, it's saying that this is doing a sequential scan. And you can see it's really detailed. So it says that it's happening on the endpoints entity, sequence scan node, so it finds relevant records by sequentially scanning the input record set. So when reading from a table, sequential scans, unlike index scans, perform a single read operation. Only the table is read. So even if you're not going to optimize, just having this as someone who is learning C# or trying to be better as a developer, that's gold. That's great information to be given. You can see the timing on the query, and you can see how many rows. So obviously it's not got any records, and you can see what cost it has as well. You can see what kind of output it would have and the filter that was put on. So a really good amount of information there. But also you've got here some sort of high level outcomes. So you've got here, it says that the query is slow. It says that the cost is high, bad estimation for number of rows, and greater than 99% of those rows are removed by the filter. So that on its own is giving you a lot of information. You can also see the raw output, and you can see the query that is generated, that there, and you've got some more stats there as well. So having something like this allows you, as you know, say you're a developer building a SaaS application and you've got a PostgreSQL database with entity framework on top of it. Every day you're going to be writing some kind of query to interact with your data, but also every day you're probably getting bug reports saying that something's slow or that something is locking up on the screen. And having as many tools as possible in your tool set is key to making sure that you can bring those bugs down. Now, again, how to optimize your queries, that's a totally different video. But just having something like this is extremely powerful. And so I'd encourage people to try this out. And if you've got code bases which are leveraging Entity Framework with a SQL Server or Postgres or Oracle, whatever it is, whatever's supported, and give this a go. Maybe try and get an average cost of your queries, and then you could potentially propose changes. I mean, from a career perspective, if you're a junior developer and you're actively finding things like this and putting forward potential changes, that's only going to be good for you, I think. So I hope this was useful. I hope that you get excited about trying to find out what your queries are doing from the SQL side. If you're interested in databases and how we interact with them from C#, I have a course on dometrain.com which specifically talks about Dapper, which is different from Entity Framework. It's what we call a micro ORM, which you can use to map SQL records to entities. It goes from zero to hero, so it takes you with zero knowledge of the framework all the way to some advanced topics. So do check that out on dometrain.com if you're interested. And also, I recently released a newsletter, proudcloud.dev. So if you want to get some more weekly .NET topics and insights, then feel free to sign up to that as well. But until next time, happy .NETing.